Welcome to the Executive Forum Speaker Series from Purdue University's Daniels School of Business. I'm your host, Dave Randich, and I'm a lecturer here at the Daniels School, teaching undergrads on the West Lafayette campus. Executive Forum brings students and industry leaders together. Our speakers inspire our students and the public with insights on trends in their industry and guidance for students as they develop their business leadership skills. Today we welcome Chris Fultz, Vice President of the B-52 F-130 program at Rolls-Royce. Come along with us as we build the future of business. Chris, it's great to have you here today.
Thank you, sir.
And great to have Rolls-Royce, a global brand, one of the largest jet engine designers and manufacturers in the world, and a company with a presence here on campus.
Yes.
And I know I've had interns from my classes go on and work with you guys over at Rolls-Royce. So it's exciting to have you here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Had a good morning so far. Talked with a lot of different people, a lot of different students. It's great to understand everything going on and figuring out how we can continue what's been a really strong partnership between Rolls-Royce and Purdue University.
And it is a strong partnership. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And Chris, maybe just to set the table, can you describe the economic sector in which you're participating and then kind of neck it down to us as to where you are with jet engines?
Yeah. So Rolls-Royce as a company, first off, we don't make cars. The Rolls-Royce cars are actually made by BMW, so not in that business anymore. Rolls-Royce is a big company, three primary businesses: the civil aviation market, power systems, and then defense. So Rolls-Royce civil engines for Boeing, for Airbus, for like the Dreamliner, really big aircraft. Also a business aviation element of that. So the Gulfstream G650, those engines are made Rolls-Royce in Germany. So most of that civil business is based in England. We have a power generation, power systems group that does like very large diesel engines for power generation, for like electrical power generation, for shipboard power, all things like that. And then the Rolls-Royce defense business, which is primarily in Indianapolis and Bristol in the UK. And that's where primary big customers, U.S. Air Force, the Army, a lot of government DoD type contracting, and then the UK, similar for the UK Ministry of Defense and foreign militaries.
And Chris, what do you do over there?
Okay, all right, so the program in particular for me, we are re-engineing the B-52 aircraft program with the United States Air Force and with Boeing. Those aircraft were designed and built in the 50s and early 60s, and there's a program now to modernize that aircraft, and we're a big part of that with re-engineering the power plants that are on there for something lighter, more fuel efficient, and just a more modern engine than what is on there today.
Yeah, and so Chris, with all that, what is your day like? What kind of work are you doing?
Kind of busy. So we have, it's a three-way type of contract. So we have a direct contract with Boeing for kind of the engine integration of how these go into the aircraft. We have a contract with the Air Force to provide engineering and flight test engines and then production. So a lot of my work involves the coordination of how are we doing delivering against those contracts, negotiation on kind of what the next phases of the program will be, and then a lot of tracking of how are we doing, making sure we're delivering everything we need to against the contracts that are in place. So with government contracts, you have what are called a CDRL, so a contract line item deliverable. Those have specific dates and milestones, requirements you have to meet, so making sure we're meeting all those, that's how we get paid. And then we have very similar with Boeing as well. Contract deliverables there, making sure we're meeting those requirements and doing the things we've committed to go do.
And Chris, what type of challenges do you have these days or opportunities in working with your clients? What kind of stuff are they demanding from you?
The big thing is, delivering on the commitment, making sure we stay on schedule, we're delivering what we need to do. Government contracting is very prescriptive, very defined. There's something called FARs that define what you can and can't do. So the rates we charge, the things that are billable and not billable, those are all very well laid out by the FARs, which is actually law. So we have to make sure we're compliant with those, have to make sure we're doing the things we said we'd do, and then like we have internal teams that are government compliance to make sure we're doing all the right things. We're subject to an audit from government agencies anytime they might want to come in. So we just have to make sure we want to always do the right thing. They're there to make sure we're always doing the right thing.
So the government's pretty big.
Yeah.
Who do you work with in the government? Are they in Washington? Are they in where are they?
Yeah. So the primary government, so it's an Air Force program. Most of the people are based at Wright-Patt Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. And then there's another group that's based in Oklahoma City at Tinker Air Force Base. So most of the engineering element is out of Wright-Patt. So we have a lot of meetings with that group, going back and forth. And then the actual airframe and the Air Force personnel, most of them are based in Oklahoma City, and a lot of the Boeing team is there. So we work back and forth, not so much with me, but with the engineers. 6 hours of their day might be phone calls or Teams meetings with their counterparts, working through engineering issues, technical challenges, making sure the integration works. My prime contact is more, he's based in Oklahoma City, and we talk more about the deliverable type things. What are we doing? What are some challenges? Maybe a unique problem comes up. We'll talk through, hey, how could we work through this? Maybe come up with some good solutions that then we escalate to get formally put in place.
Yeah, and so if you're working with, say, government engineers in Dayton, Ohio, are they giving you here's our requirements, the engine has to do this? Are they getting into the specification? Are they getting into engineering and design? Where do they stop and you start?
Yeah, so when the program was awarded, we actually were awarded this contract about 4 years ago. Very detailed statement of work, very detailed requirements documents from both the Air Force and Boeing of the engine needs to be capable of doing all these different types of things, has to produce this much power, weigh this much, and all that. We're adopting a civil engine that's already in production to meet these new requirements. So the program with the Air Force is basically proving to them that the engine meets their requirements, because sometimes they're similar, sometimes they're very unique to what a civil certification would look like, different operating environment, different demands. So the program right now is just confirming that the engine will do everything that was in the statement of work that we said we would go do.
Yeah. And if we kind of step back from all that and look at the bigger picture, as we look at the news and look at current events, what's going on out there that's affecting your business?
I guess everything in the world potentially could impact us. Things around tariffs and how those might or might not play in. So we have groups that focus just on those types of things and how we need to manage and deal with them. For the most part, like our contract is funded to go and deliver. So a lot of the things going on right now haven't had a direct impact. We're still working and delivering to what we said we'd do.
Yeah.
Some of the things just kind of from a newer capability. So we're transitioning a lot into virtual reality and augmented reality type of things. So we have a computer 3D model of the full engine. If you've ever seen the external of a gas turbine engine, all kinds of pipes and tubes and brackets and things on it, very complex. We have a similar model of the airframe that has all of their structure. So using virtual reality, we can take that engine, install it in the aircraft. We can see where there might be interference points, where there's an airframe bracket that we didn't know existed, and we think we have a tube running through it. We can find those out very quickly. The other big advantage of that VR tool set is we've had Air Force mechanics come in and pretend through this VR system to be maintaining the engine. So we can see oh, we thought you'd have good access to that bracket or to that, that fitting, whatever. Using a VR headset and VR gloves, they can try to do that maintenance and see if they can really do it. But they can also learn how to maintain the engine in a virtual world. So before we actually have a physical product for them to learn on, they can be learning some of those basics and maybe do a lot of their training in a VR world, sitting in an office versus in a training classroom with a physical engine. So the 3D modeling and VR and AR type capability is something where I think we're kind of out front leading on. A lot of demos. I'm sure that our VR kit has been here for some of the industrial days and other demo days, because it's such a good, powerful tool to show the capability, but also find those types of interferences before you've got a multi-million-dollar engine going into a multi-million-dollar aircraft and finding out it won't fit because there's a bracket in the way.
Yeah. So I suppose all this digital modeling can condense your development time, or at least make your development more effective, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we do a lot of simulation. A lot of programs can simulate an engine running, simulate stresses, simulate temperatures on turbine components, compressor components, all that. So we can do a lot of development work using modeling, and then always, because this engine has to fly, has to carry people, safety is clearly at the top of that list. We do a lot of that, then we go prove it with actual parts on an actual engine test to show that all the modeling is right. Then we can take that data, take it back into our models, and every time we do that, the models get better and better because we're augmenting them with real data.
So you got my my attention there about safety. In my classes, we talk a lot about consumer safety and employee safety. Obviously, in the jet engine business, you have to have 100% compliance.
Yes.
How does that culture manifest itself inside of your company?
So safety is always at the top of every list. We have safety boards that meet regularly that talk about any things that have happened, what do we need to do. We'll talk about containment. Do you need to keep the fleet from flying? Is there an inspection interval? Whatever. So all of those are there when something, or if something does happen. From a culture perspective, our new CEO, it's almost like a town hall, about every quarter, there's a meeting led by the CEO, and the leadership team starts off with a safety moment. And we look at safety kind of three areas. There's product safety, which is what you think about the engine on the aircraft. You want to make sure it gets from point A to point B and back safely. There's process safety, so making sure that the processes that are in place to produce those parts and to do all that work, that they're fit for purpose and safe and are going to work well. And then we have people safety, which lately has become even more in focus, because part of it is physical safety. You want the people, working around machines, doing all that to be safe, but it's also psychological safety, making sure people feel safe and comfortable to come to work, that they feel they're supported, that they're getting, if they have mental health challenges or other things going on, that they've got that. So it's the three legs, the product and process and people safety, that is at the top of the list. Like I said, every town hall starts with a safety moment.
And I won't name names because this one company will be one of your big customers, but a famous company has gotten in a little trouble by maybe having too many CEOs who focused on finance instead of engineering.
Right.
And it sounds like your new CEO has got their finger on the pulse,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. We, from a priority standpoint, it's safety at the top. Obviously, we have to deliver financial performance. Stakeholders and others expect financial performance, but not at the risk of product safety. When we are making decisions for what we're going to do on this engine and others, it's what's the right thing to do for the engine and for the aircraft, and then how do you, if you have to make adjustments financially, you do that. But you make the right product decision first.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we're here at a university and we can't go 30 minutes without mentioning AI.
Right.
So what's that mean over at Rolls-Royce?
It means right now we're trying to figure it out. Obviously with a lot of very critical data, important data, sensitive data, we can't just go out and load stuff on ChatGPT and say, hey, how would I do this? All that's public, open. So Rolls-Royce, like many other companies, we're developing our own internal AI system, figuring out how to do that. We are using like internally more with, with some Workday things, with Microsoft Word, helping to create documents or edit documents. So we're using some of it there and working to figure out how we can integrate that into day-to-day work from an engineering and technical perspective. So not there yet, but proceeding with how we're going to integrate all that.
And Chris, as a lot of our students are getting ready to start their careers, can you tell us a little bit about your path from Purdue up to a senior position at Rolls-Royce?
Yeah, so I graduated with a degree in mechanical technology from the Purdue side of IUPUI in Indianapolis. Worked for about 4 years or so and decided that I like the technical engineering elements, but I also really like the business type elements as well. So went back to school and got my MBA from the IU Kelley School in Indy, and then kind of moved from there. Had some different project engineering roles, so helping develop and certify new small helicopter engines, taking those from the kind of conceptual phases through production. Included a couple of new, the first helicopter engine we did with an electronic control. So was part of that program, was part of a partnership, and then worked through some different ones, and then maybe 10 or so years ago, moved from program into program management. I led our program management office for about 5 years, so that was figuring out the rules and tools around how to lead and manage programs, what data was needed, what structure was needed, how would we make all that work. One of the really neat things I was able to do in that role was launch a graduate development program. So a 2-year rotation for people to learn the PM skill set, because you can't really go to most schools
Project
and get
management.
a degree. Yeah, you can't really go to school and get a degree in project management. So
we're trying here, but yes.
We're working and get closer. Working to develop that, so we would bring in students. It was a 2-year rotation. When they came out of that, they had a lot of those PM skills to go into a new role. From there, I moved on to our AE program, which is the engines for the C-130, big transport, engines for the V-22, the tilt rotor, and some other products. And then when we won the B-52 program about 4 years ago, I was asked to come over and be the project exec. So I work for the program director, who's got full responsibility for the entire program, and then I manage certain parts, the contractual elements, a lot of the deliverables, a lot of people development type things with that. So probably had a total of 10 or 12 official different titles through that, but kind of grouped into those kind of categories of product development, then the PMO, and now leading programs.
So you've had a tremendous career at Rolls-Royce, a blue chip brand name that a lot of our students would love. They'd love to get into Rolls-Royce and succeed there. So when you and your company are coming here to interview, what are you looking for? What do we need to know about getting a job there?
So one of the keys is GPA. We have a minimum, kind of a min threshold. We got to know you've got the intellectual capability and the ability to apply yourself to get the grades through the school.
Like what is it?
I think it's 3.5, but it might be 3.0. I'm not positive.
All right.
Okay.
Pay attention, everybody.
It's at least 3.0, and that's on a 4-point scale, not a 6.
So. Wait.
Yeah, got that. So we look for that. So academic capability, and then depending on what we're hiring for, maybe an engineering degree, ME, AE, those types, business degrees. So it depends on the role.
Yeah.
What I look for is the combination of the academic performance, and then what else have you done? Have you had leadership roles on campus? Have you been a part of some organizations? If I'm looking for a PM type of recruit, looking for Did you help lead a project, for some organization on campus that took, here's an idea, it could be, we did a food drive. So I helped organize the food drive, we collected this many pounds of food, we had this in place, and we distributed it to, 50 needy families, things like that. So have you been able to kind of demonstrate some of those things that we look for from a project management perspective is really important to me when I recruit into my role.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of behaviors are you looking for when you're interviewing a person across the table?
Confidence. I like for you to be prepared.
And how does a student exude confidence to an adult, successful executive?
I think just by being prepared, being ready to speak. So if you're doing a virtual interview, being in a quiet room and a place where you got a good connection and there's not a crowd of people behind you, things like that just show you're prepared. Having a good resume, and I'll talk a little bit about that. The other thing is having good questions. There's almost no reason to not have 2 or 3 questions when you're being interviewed. You can Google what are great questions to ask in an interview and get a list of 30. Pick 1 or 2 of those that fit. The worst thing you can do is get all the way through and I say, do you have any questions for me? And you say, no, I'm good. Okay, that tells me your interest level may not be where it should be. So think about those questions, have several prepared. Some of them might get answered during the interview, and it's okay to say, you know what, I had 3 or 4, you've already answered 2 of them, but here's another one. So just that shows an interest.
And Chris, you made a point that a few of our other speakers have made as well, which is you're looking for a student to, 1, demonstrate that they are qualified, but 2, demonstrate their interest.
Yes.
And questions and curiosity are part of that, right?
That's part of that, knowing a little bit about the company, especially for all of you now, since I told you, if you come in and ask me if I get a discount on Rolls-Royce cars, that's probably not going to go real well. So researching the company, knowing what products they make, maybe some latest news from them, those always are good questions. Hey, I just saw in the news you won this big contract. How does that impact you? How does that impact the people around you? Is that good for you, or what are you worried about? So things like that, there's so much knowledge available to you on your phone. You should be able to have good information on whatever company you're coming in to talk to.
Excellent.
So,
Chris, thank you for coming to the Executive Forum today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Executive Forum Speaker Series. Learn how the Daniels School is building the future of business by visiting us at business.purdue.edu. That's business.purdue.edu.